Good evening. I'm Connie Bernardi. I'm a former state representative for this area, and I'm running again in 41A. And I have been a partner with Clean Water Partnership for a number of years. And this is very personal to me because my father worked at Current Manufacturing. My mother worked at the Arsenal, both Superfund sites, and we live next door, and I would suspect on a Superfund site. So this is very personal. And appreciate Jason for starting Facebook. When my daughter pulled it up to show it to me, there was my former treasurer of my campaign talking about her breast cancer, and there was Ann Gargaro talking about her father, John Gargaro, who died of leukemia at 50 years old. So this is very personal, and I appreciate it helping to find answers and being sensible about this and being able to get the data so that we all can get the answers to feel like we got them. So thank you so very much.
Thank you. Jim? Would you like? Yeah. Thank you.
Jim Koppel, I'm the Deputy Commissioner for the Minnesota Department of Health.
Thank you, Jim. Appreciate your attendance and service.
Kirk Adelka, I'm the Assistant Commissioner for the Municipal Pollution Control Agency.
Thank you. And the gentleman at the top back there, if you can shout, he's got a voice. Go for it. Great, thank you. Yes, ma'am.
Johnson. I represented Fridley in the Minnesota House for 14 years, from 1986 to 2000, and this year I am running for this Minnesota Senate in Senate District 37, and just today I went before Clean Water Action to ask for their endorsement for my race. I plan to be a part of the discussion next year at the legislature.
Thank you. Okay, as I've said, this is, this gentleman would like to, Jason, Mr. Microphone.
I'm coming.
Shout it out, you got a voice. Are you ready for questions? Yes, yeah. No, I just wanted to, it was a courtesy thing. I think it's important that they're here, that we're courteous to them, and that we understand and respect their positions. And they'll take questions if they would like. Yes, ma'am.
Hi, I'm Gina Bauman. I'm actually a city councilman from New Brighton who gives water to Fridley.
Yes.
And I am running for the state senate in 41 here.
Yep. And the gentleman right here on the end, and we'll...
I'm Jim, and I worked in a place 3 blocks from the University of Minnesota for 42 years plus. And it was a printing company, and the ground is so contaminated, 300 feet down, they can't even sell it, and it's a block and a half big, and it's so contaminated, the university don't even want to buy it. They want to buy it, but they don't know what they're going to do with the 300 feet of ground.
Great. Thank you. We'll talk after. That's an interesting point, and we're going to go ahead and go into questions unless I see somebody else. But what we're going to do is this gentleman right here. Thank you very much for bringing that up. One of the other things that I want to talk about, there's the 6 Superfund sites, there's the 2 over in your community that we know of and we talked about. They put the granular activated carbon on immediately, and so the water you're getting from them is working. But then this gentleman talked about other cleanup sites, the print shop and things like that. I didn't even get into the state sites in the Fridley area. In the back of the book, my staff put together, you've got a bunch of state cleanup sites. So, I mean, that goes back to that cumulative impact analysis that I'm looking for. Yes, sir.
Lauren Cedarstrom, Planning Commission, City of Grant. And one of the things we've attempted to fight last year, they're building an elementary school on a former Superfund site out in the City of Grant. It's the Montemedi Schools. And they've ran over the top of us. And we're trying to get some things done. We've been lobbying at the state of Minnesota. Down at the legislature, we currently have a bill that will in the future prohibit any schools being built on a current or former dump site.
My only answer to that is it's 2012 and are we kidding? I mean, come on.
A lot of work.
Yeah, it's sad that you have to use your efforts on something like that because it's pathetic to consider redevelopment of any former industrial site into a a school, you know, or those types of facilities. I mean,
Watch the kids glow in the dark at night.
it's just one of those things. It's called just say no, because it's one of those types of things is that there's no amount of science that's going to give me personally the security to put my kids in that school. So just don't. There are enough places you can do it elsewhere. Okay, we're going to go to questions. Okay, yeah, well, we're not on questions yet, so we'll start with you. Okay, all right, for questions, and they go for Jason, me, Erin, and anybody that thinks that they might be able to answer them.
Right, my name is Larry Lanu, and I'm also on the Planning Commission for the City of Grant. And I want you to understand that individually, you do have a voice. I've gone down to the state, fought with them for quite a while to prohibit siting the school on dump. Currently, they are building it. They are putting it, they're ignoring, the school district is, they'll run right over you. But we do have elected officials that listen. Representative Bob Detmer has introduced a House file to prohibit siting schools on the dump. Senator Ray Vanderveer has written a companion bill along with that, which is coming if you get reelected next this November. But my big deal that I'd like to do is say that I got one email from Erin Brockovich earlier this year. I've been fighting for a year or better and been thrown out of many council members by the Sheriff's Department for speaking up. But if you do stand there and fight long enough, they will listen. They will understand. I was talking to Jason on the phone earlier, and he said it's amazing. The Governor Dayton had me on a conference call with the Minnesota Pollution Control Agency. And one of the first questions they asked me is, what is Erin Brockovich's interest in the Matamidi School District? And I said, it's really simple. She's not here for financial gain. She would rather be here to be recognized for preventing an illness rather than allowing one. And I want her to be commended for that effort. And I don't want to steal your thunder because I know we're here in Fridley and we're talking about it, but they are currently building on it. Amy Klobuchar has agreed to listen and talk to him. Representative Vanderveer has, and Senator Vanderveer has. Currently, Congresswoman Michelle Bachmann refused the offer. So it makes a difference. Get out there, vote, talk to your representatives, and believe what they stand for. You have a voice. Individually, you do. I didn't think I did. I wire sewer lift stations. I make your sewage go uphill for a living. Not a glamorous job, but you know what? They're listening to me at the state capitol and ask me my interests. He said, Ray Vanderveer said, why aren't you running for Senate? I says, sir, I'm going to be in your neighborhood wiring a sewer lift station soon. You guys are more qualified to spread it around. But they are listening to me. They're hearing. So thank you for your efforts, Erin.
Thank you. Okay. Now we're opening it up for questions. Yes, ma'am. If you feel like shouting it down before the mic guy gets here, go ahead and I'll try to repeat it.
I was just hoping that you could explain a little bit more what the plume means. My name is Trish Alfaro. I grew up in this area. I spent, about 15 years in here. I don't live in this area anymore, but of course I'm very interested in it because I lived here during the time that we're talking about. Anyway, I was hoping you could explain to us a little bit more about the plume. I'm not sure, are we talking about groundwater? Are we talking about soil? Are we talking about air? I mean, because you said like how wide it is or how big it is.
Yeah.
What does that mean?
It exists in all three. Of course, air will dissipate and be seasonal. But groundwater moves actually very, very slow. If you were to look at a groundwater model or a groundwater plume, that would be where the chemical is part of or has dissolved into the water and is migrating with the groundwater. Okay, and groundwater will go toward pumping or toward an outlet. So or it'll sit isolated, untapped for forever. But in this particular setting, you have a lot of dynamic going on because you have the Mississippi River, because you have the sand dune, you have the shallow aquifer, you have an underlying, a middle zone, you have a deeper zone. And Whether or not the groundwater has been contaminated, obviously it's contaminated in that shallow zone, and that's usually where your porous water quality is, for other reasons even than pollution. But then we find it in the second layer, the drinking water layer, the confined layer, and then even in the deeper aquifer that's drinking water and confined. What happens is when groundwater wells are drilled, for those of you who know groundwater wells, it's basically, it's a hole that goes, all the way down, if it goes all the way to 800 feet, and then they put what they call perforations. They knock holes in the casing to allow the water to fall into the well and then be pumped up. And that's where you can have cross-contamination. So contamination in one zone can go down the well column and fall into another zone, and then go towards pumping zones. Most of you have heard what we call the Fridley Common well field. That's the drinking water supply for Fridley. It's the park across the street where most of the wells are located, and it all comes into that particular area. That's a pumping zone. That's probably a pumping hole. That would cause water from all the different areas to flow in that direction. But not only is the water that's consumed for drinking in this area pumped from the Fridley Commons Park well field, but so is the well at this high school for irrigation on the football field. When you came in the parking lot tonight, you saw, nice football field, and the sprinklers were going like crazy out there. That well also is causing groundwater migration to this area, or to this zone. There are the junior high has a well field. There are other well fields in this, or wells, other wells in the associated area of the well field, and that will draw a plume in that direction. The TCE in the Fridley well field came from somewhere. Okay, who do you go look at? You look at the guys that use TCE. You got a few of them in town, so it didn't just mysteriously appear. So that's the groundwater plume that we're concerned about. When you hear Erin and I talk about the soil vapor plume, that'll be in that shallower zone that's migrating through the sand. And you can actually have water moving this way in the shallow zone and that way in the deeper zone and then back that way. They can do all different types of things. The bottom line answer to your question is the plume is dynamic. The polluters, EPA, and the state, everybody's still asking for definition of what those impacts are and where it's migrating as early as last month. So until that's really done, and it's expensive, but I think a polluter of this magnitude should be paying for it, it needs to be done. So we are concerned about the soil vapor because that's going to be a whole lot more dynamic. The barometric pressure change, my God, the weather from yesterday to today will impact how that soil vapor will migrate and whether it'll come up or it will go down. I'm working on a site that I'm going to be doing a town hall meeting at back in Carson, California tomorrow, where it's a petroleum site, and on days when the barometric pressure is low, you can smell the gasoline in the front yard. When the day the barometric pressure is high, it will push down on it. And so the Mother Earth breathes, okay? And so that soil vapor will come in and out and off gas and migrate and move toward all different types of dynamic situations. So. I don't know. Yeah, I don't have the answers to that. Yes, sir. Oh, and then you're next, ma'am. I'm sorry. I told him to stand up. I'm sorry. Yeah, I'll follow the man in the yellow shirt from now on.
Ross Meisner, we're using a couple key terms here, cancer, which we all understand, and Superfund sites, which we maybe understand much less. Can you remind us what the definition of a Superfund site is and the correlation of that to TCE contaminant sites that maybe aren't Superfund sites? And then finally, when is a site no longer considered a Superfund site? How do they meet that criteria, and how did they measure the number one site here? You tried to explain that a little bit, but I'm just curious how that got ranked number one.
Wow.
So tell us about Superfund sites.
Pardon? Oh, it was the FMC site? Yeah. It kind of went back and forth, and I was even confused by that because it actually said in one of the reports it was the naval site and the FMC site, and they actually Most of the reports talk about them as though they were across the country from each other. They sometimes refer to each other, and then they sometimes are completely independent of each other. And they both refer to the fact, one said that they were put on the Superfund site list based on ranking due to the fact that the city of Minneapolis, a population of 500,000 at the time, I don't know what it is now, would consume that water, and that gave it the ranking. And I forget whether it was the Naval report that said that or the FMC report. And then the FMC report said, due to the public outcry at the time and the notoriety of the Superfund site, it was given the higher ranking. So the NATO one said one, and then the FMC said the other, and I'm not going to tell you which one was which off the top of my head. So just for reading. I got to get back to his question. It's a difficult question, and I'm not going to answer it correctly. But Superfund is a federal program, federal EPA, and when it was created to be the Superfund. You know, we're going to do this by regulating agencies that have polluted our country, and you know, the polluter will pay. There will be cost recovery. There will be all these different mechanisms that it was very Republican. It was very, we're going to create a government entity that's actually going to possibly make money at doing this right. Superfund is super failure. They don't cost recover. If you're a polluter, the best thing that can happen to you in the United States of America is to run the Superfund, because you get to hide out there for 40 years and you're in the safe zone. Superfund is super failure. So how they're ranked is there's a ranking system, and sometimes the state calls in the feds and says, God, this one's bigger than us. This looks like it belongs to the federal government. And then they rank it, and it falls into different categories. It's like I said, if you go into the EPA site tonight, don't believe me. Remember I said don't trust me at the beginning of this meeting. Go and do your own research tonight. If you go into EPA site this way, there's 35 here in Minnesota. If you go that way, there's 40. If you go this way, there's 61. Some are on, some are off. Why the Fridley Commons Park is a Superfund site? It's anyone's guess. Because it was polluted, and they don't know where it came from. I mean, it's like the regulatory community were living on 9 different planets all at the same time, and they didn't even know each other's existence. So it's very frustrating. That's pretty much how the system worked. And then you asked the underlying question of, what about all the other Superfund sites? In Fridley, there are others. And they don't rise to the level of Superfund. And I'm going to mess this up. Remember, there's 50 different states that do 50 different systems, and then the territories. Permanent list of priorities is a state system, best as I can tell. And they have lists. And then there are, within Fridley, there are a couple of dry cleaner sites, that are being regulated. They just don't rise to the level of the federal government regulation. So, yes, ma'am.
My name is Jennifer Torres, and I wanted to know, besides cancer, what else does TCE do? I mean, could you have autoimmune diseases arising from it, like asthma, clotting disorders, different things like that?
TCE is a carcinogen, and so it will cause, and the daughter components, like I was talking about, the vinyl chloride, or even worse, are a super known carcinogen. So carcinogen causes cancer. TCE, full disclosure, I'm not a toxicologist, I'm not a medical doctor, I'm a water guy. TCE, another big problem in the country, TCE is a chemical that the chemical industry said, why do we need to do health effects studies on this chemical? It's going to be used in the factory, it's never going to escape the factory, and therefore we should just do OSHA scientific experiments. So the 35-year-old white working male was studied on the health effects of working with TCE. the most common known disease associated with TCE over in the Department of Labor, and I'm convinced the Secretary of Labor doesn't know the Secretary of Health's phone number because they don't share data. The disease is Parkinson's. Parkinson's disease is associated with a 35-year-old white working male that works with TCE. I don't think this little girl over here is going to get it. I don't think it's going to be associated with Parkinson's or neurological disease, but I think that, I'm concerned about her increased risk of over her lifetime cancer. So autoimmune, yes. Neurological, yes. Cancer, yes. But our chemical industry, through their lobbyists, is why do we want to study those 80,000 chemicals? Because they're only going to be used in the factory, and they will never escape the factory. They're all gone. They're all over town, guys. So where'd my man in the yellow shirt go? Yes, right here.
I'm Debbie Ash Anderson, and I've been a Fridley resident on and off for about 25 years. We grew up in Fridley back in the late 60s, early 70s. We bought a piece of property on Rice Creek, and my brother and I, we used to like to inner tube down Rice Creek. And my brother couldn't be here today because he lives in Duluth, but he wrote a statement that I'd like to read. He said, while carrying my inner tube to Central Avenue near 73rd to float down Rice Creek, I noted a 3-foot wide hidden stream on the north side of Rice Creek flowing from the oil plant. It was a clear industrial solvent. He touched it. He said it felt like mineral spirits, and it looked like mineral spirits. Mm-hmm. He said he never went back and inner tubed after that. He also said that he went to that oil plant one time, and he went inside, and the floor was very oily. And we also had a neighbor that worked at that oil plant, and the neighbor always complained that the floor was very oily. So the only plant in that area at the time was that oil plant, so it had to have been coming from there. And I just, thought of some of my neighbors living along Rice Creek, and I came up with about 12 that are dead, and in quite a few cases, they died from cancer.
So does somebody know, it's a refinery, right? Because I think it's another Superfund site. Or it's definitely a managed pollution site. Is it the oil refinery? Okay. That's why I said this is your meeting. There are other sites. It's not just the ones, it's not just the 6. And then you've got the 2 in the next town over. So, yes, ma'am.
I just wanted to ask really quick, we've been focusing only on cancer so far.
Yes.
So based on what she said, do you guys want to know about other issues that could be brought up through TCE?
Yes.
Yeah, that's an excellent question. I'm sorry we didn't cover it. But yeah, I mean, listen, there's many things that cancer is bad, but there are many autoimmune diseases and neurological problems that can be very debilitating to communities. So I'm sorry we didn't cover that, but no, it isn't just about cancer. It would be about neurological problems. People reporting maybe possibly more Parkinson's here than what they might expect to autoimmune types of problems. So absolutely, any kind of information that you have about your health is clearly very important to us, not just cancer.
You do know that? Okay. Oh, that's okay. You can tell me after. You can whisper in my ear. Oh, yes. Yes, ma'am.
Hi, my name is Cindy Richmond, and my former husband and I have lived in Fridley for over 50 years. And he passed away from leukemia in 2001. My question to you, though, is that I still continue to live in Fridley, work at one of the elementary schools. What can I do tomorrow to make sure that the water is better for my kids when we come back?
What can you do tomorrow? I don't think another drop out of a well in the Fridley Commons should be pumped with any level of TCE in it and blend it away. I think you call the city. I think you call the city and you say, get on the phone and call the EPA and the state, and you say, somebody put this TCE in our well field. It's caused us concern. We've played along. We've played the game. You've never said it was us. We're just the ones pumping the water. It's likely one of those Superfund sites. We don't care which one pays for it, but we want granular activated carbon on that well now. You can call a service company, and there are a half a dozen in the United States that will put granular activated carbon on that well tomorrow. And just say, enough is enough. And call on your electeds to maybe front the money. You know, I know the cities are having a tough time now. It might go to the bottom line on your water bill, but there is no safe level of somebody else's pollution in your drinking water supply at any level. Don't. I'm going to tell you something, and this is something that might or might not get quoted, and I might regret it in the morning. But as a drinking water treatment professional, holding the highest license in my state for 24 years now, it goes in elevations and grades. I am so sick and tired of my peers, water treatment professionals, saying, we've never exceeded a federal or state Safe Drinking Water Act maximum contaminant level. So what? So what? Is there pollution in my water? Yes or no? Hiding behind the MCL game, the federal game that is MCL setting, that this woman's dedicated her life to along with 50 other state representatives from the state of Minnesota, 50,000 other Minnesotans, is they are fed up with that game. Remember what I told you, there's no Chrome 6 MCL? So to hide behind that, nothing pisses me off more than one of my peers stands up and says, 1 part per billion is a golf ball in a rose bowl. 1 bullet through your goddamn head will kill you. I don't care. When water treatment professionals in this country stand up and give an excuse before they talk, when an elected official or a government bureaucrat gives you an excuse before he gives you an answer, there's a problem. So stop with the excuses. So I'm sorry about the card. Yeah, there are safe drinking water standards and there are MCLs, but there are naturally occurring elements that are hard to treat and hard to deal with, that are regional throughout our country. And those are what we have maximum contaminant levels for, not somebody else's garbage, not somebody else's pollution. Yes, I'll let you go real quick. Do you want to answer the smoking one? Her question was the health department has basically expressed a concern, or has given an opinion that the increased cancer rate is associated with increased smoking rates. I hope I said that right. I don't mean to misstate it. Okay, I said it right. Maybe. I started out this meeting by saying I'm not going to get into the plus 2%, minus 3%. But at the end of the day, does smoking cause cancer? Absolutely. We all know it does. Does smoking in the Fridley area attribute itself to the higher cancer rates? Maybe. I don't have the number, and I don't think they do either. So to say it is irresponsible, for me to contest it would equally be irresponsible. So smoking's bad.
Okay, hi, I'm Lynn Johnstone.
I'm gonna let a Minnesotan answer the question.
No, I just want to say that one of the biggest problems that we face when we go into community and try and help them address health concerns is that you will very, very rarely find a health professional that will say, yes, that is caused from that. There's a ton of real and manufactured doubt. And the fact is that with most environmentally related illnesses, you can't point from that exposure to that illness later on, because as we've said, there's cumulative effects that people don't judge, and it's very difficult to get your health care. You guys know this. It's really difficult to get a healthcare professional that'll say, oh yeah, you drank the water, you've got cancer, or you've got Parkinson's, or whatever it is. But as science becomes more advanced, we know that these chemicals cause these things. So, you know, we're not idiots. You have exposure, you know it causes cancer. You have cancer, there's got to be a link. But there's a lot of manufactured doubt out there, and that's where all of you reporting your illnesses and reporting your exposures becomes so incredibly important.
Thank you. Next question. Yes,
I'm Lynn Johnstone, and I'm a two-time cancer survivor. I've lived in Fridley for 40-plus years. I just wanted to say on a medical aspect of it, I work at the University of Minnesota. My first cancer, I did treatment through Mayo. My second, I did it at the University of Minnesota. And your oncologists want to know where you lived, because when I brought up 2 weeks ago at my last appointment, I live in Fridley. I live on this Superfund site, really close, all the things that I've did in my life. He's like, wow, how come you didn't bring this up before? They are aware. They want to know, because your type of cancer is affected by every different toxin and carcinogen. And your cancer, if you're on, if you sign up when you've been diagnosed of your type of cancer to have research done, which I did just because I was so young, and the two types of cancer, they track that back. They have tissue. They can find what it is and narrow it down to what type and where you got it from. So it's a big importance of keeping that data, because they can look back. You can go in and I can give permission for them to bring up both of my cancers and the testing that they've done and how they've narrowed it down.
Thank you. Smoking's bad. A beer ain't so good. A Twinkie's gonna kill you. New York, you're going to jail if you have a Diet Coke. I mean, it's, okay, we all do bad things. But in the United States of America, the one thing, well, the three things we should be most entitled to is clean water, clean air, and clean dirt. That is our basic human right, the clean environment. You know, when somebody says, oh, there's more of that in a beer and a hot dog than could ever be in your drinking water supply, is a cop-out. Where?
You want me to go?
Yes.
Okay, I'm Lynette Newald. I was born here, live in the same house, 1964, right here in Fridley, just just a bit away, right by Commons area, just right by the middle school as well. Went to both these schools, went to every school here in Fridley, lived here, and I still live here, and work here in Fridley, and and my kids go here too, so this is very impactful to hear the information that you have. I do have cancer, and I had it for 3 years, is when they first diagnosed it. So I'm still going on 2 chemos that I still am going through. But first of all, I want to say thank you for coming and researching it, because first when I found out that I had got cancer, I've done a ton of research, and everything does point back to your environment. And I have never smoked, I had barely drank, and I'm like, why in the world do I have this? And I feel like this maybe has given me some information, maybe, of where some of that is. Just a comment on you were curious about the Commons Park area, why that is. I don't know, this is something I heard way back when I was born in 1964, like I said, 65, there was a tornado that hugely went through this whole area. And my understanding, and again, I don't know, I don't have proof, but my understanding that the Commons area was a dumping ground of tornado stuff. And so there was a lot of damage here during that time. That could be one of the issues of why that area has that. Then a question that I have for you, and this might be hard to answer, but as you are going to start to go look for those plumes and that type of information, what time frame do you, because I'm a current cancer person and I have children coming to this area, I'm concerned about what is the timing. I mean, we can push and push, but what is the timing that we're looking at to find out some of these answers? That is my first question. And the second question, is there a site that you can go on to find out these super sites, these places? Where do you find that information?
I'll answer backwards so I don't forget things. You can go on the EPA's website and just type in Superfund, or you can type in National Priority List, and they are different. And you can just click on your state, and it'll start pulling them up. You can put your zip code in. There are numerous ways, but most of it will be found on the EPA site. Timing. Timing depends on a lot of things. And you help, and frankly, you hurt the process, and I definitely, and she really does. I'm going to tell you straight up, the process will move as fast as the government officials care to listen or want to tell us to pound sand. And we experience both. We experience both. I have said and will continue to say that everyone I've spoken with when asking for documents has moved swiftly. They haven't put me through the game that other states and other agencies have put me through, which is the Freedom of Information Act request, which basically is just a nice way of saying, go away for 90 days because I can make you. So it's based on the cooperation. I would love nothing more than to sit down with the EPA regional people associated with this and say, why don't we consolidate them all up and talk about how we're going to really fix this problem instead of playing these games for another 35 years. So it's just that's the timing issue. And then you had another one before it. If you remember it or think of it, just wink at me and I'll come back. But its timing is based on how much the government's going to help us. We will take independent action, but it's very, very difficult for us to come in and get permits and to start doing those types of things without government support. So, yes, sir. Where is he? Oh, there. Uh-huh.
I'm going to talk just about large corporations. This is sort of a double question. When a large corporation produces a chemical that they know is dangerous and can create cancer, they are required, I believe, by law to take this type of material and put it into the proper place, which costs them, I would presume, more money than just throwing it on the ground. Am I correct? Yeah. If I am running a company and I can save that money by going up into an area which is not heavily populated and is populated by very poor people, throwing this chemical onto the ground for years, I won't be spotted. And finally, then I am called a Superfund. Then I obviously, as you stated, I as a corporation run over to the Superfund spot and more or less take a little bit more time there. So it would seem to me like if I were owning a large company, I would want to go to a low population area or whatever, and I would just arbitrarily throw this material away until I was caught. And then I would run over after they stated that I was a Superfund and I would start to try to clean things up, maybe in the next 40 years.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. I mean, they were financially incentivized to take the easy way out. Yes, sir.
Yeah, my name is Juan Coleman. I'm a resident, state delegate. And my question to you is, what are you in the city of Fridley has done to try to make some goals to reach out and look at this problem in depth and get some data collected by the city officials, particularly the city of Fridley and their office? So what kind of communications have you had, and what do you see the prognosis as being going forward? And my second question is, have you provided a sign-in sheet so the community members that showed up this evening could be put in some type of database, and that way each and every one of us could have we could become a collaborative and work with you and work with you and Erin and
sure
and McCarthy over here?
So we did not do a sign-in sheet, and the reason we did not do the sign-in sheet is because, once again, we're invited here to help you, and you have the Fridley Cancer Cluster page. And so I would encourage you all to go through that and to work with Jason to get that done. And so I think that was our intention there. We usually do sign-in sheets, but because this group's already up and running and active, and then certainly with Clean Water Action, I'd encourage you to sign up with them, and they'll get that data to us as well. And then what's the prognosis with the city of Fridley? The city of Fridley, I've been very, very careful. I did not want to cause any rift to unfold. They've been very cooperative and working with the state Department of Health that oversees them in gathering the data. A lot of the data was in boxes. It wasn't electronically available. It had to be PDF'd and then sent to us. Top notch. They did it swiftly, and they did get it to us. So I anticipate that they would be cooperative on a go-forward basis. So I'm in a very positive and hopeful frame of mind right now with the city of Fridley.
So you would say there's a good dialogue moving forward?
I would hope that would continue, yes. So, yep. Yes, ma'am.
Hi, my name is Natividad Seifeld. I'm the current president of Park Plaza Cooperative, the fifth manufactured mobile home park in the state. At this time, this place was built in 1960, and we had extreme water issues. And after looking at the video camera of the underground system and finding out we are out of code, I can't even imagine what we're drinking on a daily basis. During the wintertime, the water breakage is extreme, and during the summertime, with all the rain we've had, all our manholes overflow, and we had to have a pump system come out and take the water out. The city of Fridley has an overflow pond that is connected to us with about 300 feet of piping, of which, when that fills up, backs up into our park area. Then also fills our rental home, which they had 4 inches of water just recently in the past couple of weeks. So imagine the sewer smell. Every time a plumber comes out, they're unable to unplug it. They can't tell us where it's coming from. So I've connected with the city of Fridley, and they've been extremely come forth, and they are going to check and see if maybe there's a main break in the overflow pond. We're connected to an auto part place, of which has this big, huge plume coming out of the ground, of which we don't know what that's from. So imagine the oil that's being dumped from all the cars. We're connected to them. I, too, am currently with cancer. I have chondrosarcoma, grade level 1, which is a bone cancer. It hits your arms, legs, and chest. I am the rare one in a million chance it hits the brain. I've had 3 brain surgeries, 1 tumor. I've lived here since 1985 and still currently live here, 17 years in the park. My next step is 1 more surgery. By the time I do that, I'll be close to 60. I almost didn't make it. I'm curious to see if maybe you would come and redo our water check in our park and tell us what we're drinking and using on a daily basis is really an extreme concern, as we're in the process of asking for a grant from the state and the city and the county, of which isn't till October, in hopes of spring to redo all of our piping.
Where do you get your, do you have your own well in the trailer park, or do you?
We are city, and we also have a pump that runs it, of which we have 3 sizes of piping right now, all of which are out of code. The smallest piping that
But you
goes to
get
home
water
is
from
2
the city?
inches. Yes, we are getting
Okay.
water from the city, but we're not sure exactly with all the breakages that we've had recently and in the
If
past.
it's been compromised, yeah.
Absolutely.
Okay. See me after and we can talk about that. So,
Right over there.
man in the yellow, I've been breaking the rules and he's going to throw that at me. We'll take a couple of quick ones, so make them really good, and then we'll talk about how we can continue to communicate afterward.
My name is Jean, and I'm a healthcare professional.
Uh-huh.
And this goes out to all the hospital facilities around here and clinics. They don't always address if you have your bones disintegrating because you work with the soil or you have PCP in it and people have birth defects that are born with that, or cancer. And this goes out to all healthcare professionals in the facilities here in this area, that they need to develop that stronger to know. And when you come in, just say, oh, you know, we can't find anything. Oh, you think you have cancer. People that do for this area, they need to be affirmative and address that issue to everybody who lives in a Superfund site. And that's Fridley, and a lot of them don't have that awareness. And for anybody who moves into this area, they need to have informed consents. Or the elderly, if they're building elderly homes, those people need to be aware of that, or maybe not even allow them in. And you're both welcome to come test the soil on my property, because I would like out of Fridley, and because I am a healthcare professional, my health is very important to me, and I want out. And I'm not going to be able to get out because the housing market will decrease. I don't want to claim bankruptcy. I don't want a short sale for somebody else to come in and have that. There has been several issues in my neighborhood where one neighbor's dropped dead for working on a PCP site. I have neighbors with bone cancer, Hodgkin's lymphoma. Several neighbors have died, and our animals too. So for all of us in our community, as people, we want that tested. And this goes to the police department and city of Fridley. When we have an elderly person or anybody who is ill, please don't bill them $130 and say, oh, Gene, you're enabling them. Help them. Go out and help them. It doesn't cost $130 to pick up some sticks or say you're enabling. We all want to work together here to make it better when people are ill. Oh, no, you're enabling an illness. No, I'm not. This is much more. So, City of Fridley, Police Department, all of us, it's all of us, really. And since we don't have any air pollution control here, and we need to test chemtrails in Morgellons, somehow whoever does that, that is very important. And to the people who've experimented on us, this is justice for us.
Thank you. Couple quick more.
I just have a quick question.
Sure.
My name's Mary Jo. I grew up on Rice Creek Terrace. My parents were probably one of the first people to build on Rice Creek in probably 1962. One question is, when did they become classified as a Superfund? At what year? I mean, when did they become really toxic?
Various years, but the right around 1980. Remember, we were talking earlier about 1978, 1976, but then by the time they started doing the testing and getting things, and then there was the report on the FMC site. I mean, there's the Boise Cascade site. There's many sites that we could go into.
The other question is, was Rice Creek considered one of the most toxic areas in Fridley? I read that, and I don't know if that's true or not.
Help me out.
Because I'll be dead in a year if it is.
No.
I swam in it, I skated on it.
Oh, the PCP stuff, yeah. I don't know that at the time with all the whole wood treating sites in the country and stuff like that, it probably ranked in the middle of the pack. Okay?
Is that right?
Yeah, the FMC and the Navy one is the one that got the highest ranking, and it was probably associated with the fact that everybody in Minneapolis was drinking the stuff that was flowing into it, and that's why it got that really high ranking. So the Rice Creek, it was probably a really bad situation. I don't know how much effort was done on the banks of Rice Creek and how much of that soil remained. Let me tell you, we're back to the soil thing. For PCPs and the chemicals associated with wood treating, you would be looking at soil removal. A lot of soil has been removed. They did a lot of cleanup. You would be looking at soil removal for that. TCE, you'd be looking at the soil vapor. You wouldn't be actually physically digging up dirt. So this is another thing that compounds it. And if you're sort of standing where we're at here, you got that one coming this direction and you got the other ones coming that direction. Where do they meet? What's the effect? You know, these people are going to have different problems than people in this area. And just understanding it. I mean, when we first got involved, I mean, Fridley, Minnesota, it was like suburb of Minneapolis, St. Paul. And then you start looking into it and you go, site. And it just, that's why it just got very, very complex.
When did you determine it was the most toxic city in the United States?
I didn't say it was the most toxic city. No.
Dangerous.
The EPA ranked, all the Superfund sites, there's thousands of them, got ranked. And the Fridley was ranked #1 in the country by the federal government.
So and when did they do that?
I answered that question over here because it went back and forth between it and the naval site. 86.
Okay. And then I have one more question.
I'm probably wrong, but I'm going to guess 86.
That's roughly a good idea. One more question. This might be a rumor, but I heard that Fridley was never supposed to be zoned residential. Is that true?
Never heard that one.
Okay. And then one more question, sorry. In the population of people that have gotten cancer, have you noticed that it's more people that were forming genetically, they're young people, children, versus the adult?
I don't have any
There's
number for you.
There's no data on that, okay.
Yeah.
Okay, well.
No, there's data, but I'm not going to interpret it. 86. It was found in, designated #1. Immediately, the state turned it over to the feds, so it was 81. Not until the guy got on the phone, and I'm not sure why he went home angry, and called and said, hey, I know where out, and they call it, it's amazing. This is, I don't know how many, we're in the hundreds, Erin and I. It's called the North 40 in a lot of places. And it was literally, in this Superfund site, it's called the North 40, and that's where they buried the stuff. They buried it in trenches and they buried it in holes, so it's out in the North 40. 2 more quickies and then, yes ma'am.
Is it on? Okay.
We need to talk. Please, don't leave here without getting my card. Yes, sir. On the what? Yes. I don't know what the card is. I'm not going to poke at the mayor. I don't. What he's saying is the mayor has a home water treatment system that takes out TC. What he's saying is the mayor sends out this card. I'm going to summarize for you, and if I'm wrong, choke me. The mayor sends out this card. The city of Fridley sends out this card, of which the mayor is numero uno in the community. And then he has a home water treatment system at his house. And so he's saying, wherein is the faith in that? So I understand your comment, and it's a valid comment. It's you know, if you're gonna tell everybody the water's safe, why do you have a home water treatment system? So, woman in the green, and then I'm gonna call it. Yes, ma'am. And I'll stay and answer a couple questions after, Okay.
My mom, oh goodness, okay. My mom was diagnosed with cancer. We want to know if there's a difference since we live right across the street. We now switched to filtered water. Is that better, or does it matter, or does it matter if we wash with it or shower with it? Or?
Filtered who?
Huh?
Filtered who or filtered how? Or you have a home water treatment system?
Yeah, filtered water through like Homer's or whatever.
Okay.
But I mean, does it matter?
First of all, all we've talked about tonight is the TV, the VOCs, the PC, and the TC. Okay. The chemicals of concern are numerous in this Superfund site. I mean, benzene's listed, which is like the predominant chemical in gasoline. So out there in the North 40, they dumped a lot of stuff. The TC and the PC are kind of the leading edge, the most common, highest concentrations, chemicals of concern. Home water treatment systems won't remove everything, but since we're only talking about the VOCs, most home water treatment systems have granular activated carbon in them, and they will remove those constituents. So just to put your mind at ease, I am not an advocate for or against home water treatment systems. Erin and I aren't in that business, and so I'm very, very careful as to how I answer that and the whole bottled water thing, but yes, sir, because the man in the yellow shirt told me to.
I'm Jim Bauer, and I've lived in Fridley since 1973. And in 1986, at age 35, I developed a cancer, followed by surgery and a year of chemotherapy. In my own area of Fridley, I took a poll and I found a cluster of people that had lived in Fridley, an average of 10 years, age of 35, that all developed cancers. I had my water tested out of state and it showed TCE. I called the city and they denied it for about 20 minutes and then admitted that it was in there. And about 1987 or 88, I confronted the city council on this, and there's a video available, and I believe Jason put it on YouTube, which anyone can call up. And there was a lot of promises made about shutting down certain wells and monitoring things, and it appears that nothing has changed. And also, these cleanup sites were reported in the Fridley Focus, which was our city newspaper at the time in the 1980s. And again, it appears like nothing has changed. What kind of push does the city of Fridley, the Minnesota Health Department, and even Clearwater Action, what kind of push do they need from this community and the people of Minnesota to roll up their sleeves and confront these companies that have made money dumping these things in our drinking water? Thank you.
Thank you for your comment. Thank you for the film, because I've seen it, and it's frustrating to me. And what's it going to take? Yes. No, please. Yes, that's where I want to. Erin's talking about private wells. Nobody in here is from the county and is going to bust these people. How many private wells are still out there? Capped. See, and the problem, let me tell you something about capped wells. Remember that whole thing I was talking about earlier? Capped wells are that communication between aquifers. And you could be sitting there capped, not doing anything, and stuff could come in your well and go, you know. Okay. It wouldn't be the first community that I went into, and you don't have to raise your hands. If you still have a well and you want it tested, give me a holler, and we'll kind of look at that. Every community that's converted from private homeowner drinking water wells to municipal drinking water systems, tell people they cap their well, but they're still using them in their gardens because it's cheaper than city water. It happens all over the United States, so nobody's going to hold it against you. You keep putting. Do you have a question? I didn't want to ignore you. I thought you had your. Nope. Okay.
Well, I have a ton of things to say, but I'll cut as short as possible. My bottom line
Can you hear me? Is this too close or far? Closer. My bottom line is, well, first of all, I'm Joanne Mueller. You can find me on the internet by Googling Joanne Mueller guinea pigs and anything about electromagnetic fields or radiation. I'm very concerned. I hear you. You definitely have a huge problem. I'm very concerned about all the survivors and everybody, the future generation and so forth, about the synergistic reactions with anything electric that's by your beds. This is no joke. I could talk for 2 or 3 hours, and I won't, but you absolutely need to move anything electric and or electronics away from the bed. It has to do with inducing currents on metal mattress springs. And anyone with a question is, all my work is volunteer. You can call or email anytime. Like I said, the meeting has been long. My evidence is overwhelming objective facts regarding leukemia, asthma, Alzheimer's, and, well, in fact, I should tell you that I moved my husband's electric clock radio off his nightstand, and he improved in 3 parts of his executive function. This is 14 years into dementia and then diagnosed with Alzheimer's, and the leading neurologist in Minneapolis said he does not have Alzheimer's. And what I learned about that along the way, about the synergistic reactions and reactions, is that he was on a statin. So when you have any other chemical or toxic exposure, which the electric fields actually are listed on the National Institute of Health website as a hazardous agent, and you will get a doubling of the adverse effect. Like I said, I have tons to say, and I'll cut it short. So.
Thank you. Thank you very much. I'm going to hate myself. I'm going to take the purple skirt and the gentleman with his fingers up, and then that's it.
Hi, I'm not from Fridley, but I'm from Oakdale. And we have a similar issue there related to, I'm from Oakdale. I'm not from Fridley, but we have had and have been working on this issue, a very similar issue to yours. We have 3M. Over there, same chemicals in the water. We've worked with the health department. Actually, I just spoke with the gentleman a minute ago. I need to encourage those of you that are here as legislators, potential legislators, senators. We will stand up, but we need you to stand up too. Because I've watched over and over our legislative body fall over to the corporate power that we have in this state. Because we have many corporations in this state. This stuff is, I'm a systemic change person. What we're looking at are systemic issues. And we're not dealing with them as systemic issues, which Erin talked about, and you talked about. Because when we pour toxic chemicals in, they come up in our food, they come up, we drink it, we shower in it. It comes to rainwater, and it's a big circle. You may want to talk to the geologist that was hired over in Oakdale, because she did a big study on how the water is flowing. I mean, we're the source of the Mississippi River. Folks, what we put in here goes other places in the country. It's not just Minnesota, so the toxins we have here. But legislators and what's your name? I'm sorry. What was your name? I don't mean to embarrass you, but Jim, and he's with the Department of Health. And what he said to me is, we need you to speak up. We need the community to help put pressure on, and help us put pressure on the corporations. And so I'm encouraging this community, join with us in Oakdale, because we're fighting the same battle. We're fighting the same issues of toxicity in our water. So I'm with you. I came here because I wanted to support what you're working on here, because we're doing the same thing.
Thank you. Can you just hand it right to him?
Hi, I'm Tom Thompson. I live on Rice Creek Terrace in Fridley, and I have 2 questions, so I'll make them quick. One is last week in our community here, we had our local summer festival called the 49er Days, and we had a parade, and all the politicians came out, and our mayor and our county commissioner were waving and throwing out suckers and candy and stuff. But I wonder what we can do to make those people who aren't here tonight more proactive to take care of this or to address this issue. The other question I have is that what can an individual do to prevent our neighbors from putting pesticides on their grass? Because I'm raising children, and we have the worst lawn on our block because we don't use pesticides, and then other people put up the flags saying this is dangerous, and can this be done on the state level, national level, whatever, to make this illegal? Because the pesticides are going into our drinking water.
Right. Now, the pesticide question is, every state's different, so I'm not sure what level would regulate that. I know that there are issues associated with it. And then what would make the elected officials that aren't here more progressive in the morning? Your phone calls. Everybody needs to go home tonight and call. What's sad is you've heard the thing about the gentleman up here that spoke about the TCE and the water, and I've gone back and reviewed that tape from the 80s. The TCE is in 4 out of the 8 wells. There's 4 deep, 4 high. They're numbered. That doesn't sound like there's more, but it's just those 8 that and I could be wrong, but right now it looks like there's 4 deep and 4 shallow. It was the easiest in drinking water treatment. These VOCs are the easiest things to remove from water that we know. And I mean, we're dealing with chemicals right now that don't come out on carbon. And so the fact that it's gone on this long regardless of the levels, and the fact that we're allowing blending with clean water to cover up polluted water is a problem. So frankly, you get on the phone in the morning and you call the mayor and you say, hey, we heard from that goofball last night. He says you're as much a damaged party as everybody else. Why don't you call the state and the feds and say, we want activated carbon. As a matter of fact, we believe in it so much, we as a city are going to put it on our 4 wells, and we're going to front the cost. And then if those polluters don't choose to pay us for what we've done, sue them into the next century. Do you have a city attorney in this town? Tell them to grow a pair. Okay. Thank you all very, very much. If we did this all night, what I would encourage you to do, get on the Facebook page, post your questions. Weird as it sounds, and the spelling may suck because I do it on an iPhone, I'll try to answer your questions. I actually really do. I see weird posts in weird places, and I spend a lot of time in airports. So you throw them up there, you might get a quicker, more direct, honest answer and reply. Feel free to email us. Our emails are on the webpage. I have a Fridley file. Everything goes in it. All those questions are put in front of me by my staff on a daily basis. You will get answers to your questions. Thank you all very, very much for coming. Clean Water Action, some of your staff and elected officials. And we'll be here to answer some questions.